Fight on, fight on, fight on. Trojan Baze here with the Michigan recap. Ouch. Fricking ouch. That was a tough pill to swallow. I feel like the exorcist, the head of that young girl that was spinning. That's how I feel right about now.
Who lives and reigns with the Father and the Holy Spirit. Damien!
After that game, let's talk about it. All right. Wow, that was a tough one. Where do I start? Where do I begin? Look, hats off to the USC players. Showed a lot of grit, showed a lot of determination. That is something to hang your hat on. They got off to a very shaky start, maybe that 2 weeks layoff. They seemed very rusty, seemed very discombobulated. How's that word?
Discombobulated.
And it showed. Overwhelming environment, 100,000 plus, traveling, all that stuff. Okay. But they regrouped. They started putting drives together. And like I said in my Michigan leading up to the game, I said interior D-line with Graham and Grant, tough. Will Johnson, top cornerback, one of the best in the nation, if not the best. And sure enough, those two aspects of the Michigan defense reared their ugly heads and bit us in the collective ass. Will Johnson picked 6 to the house. That was their only. If he didn't do that, if that didn't happen, which I think could have been prevented by both SC players, a quarterback and Zach Branch, then we have the game. Also, SC's defense, hats off to them. 95% of the game, they held Michigan. I think Michigan rushed the ball 46 times. 3 of them, big plays. Look, let's be objective here. The officiating yesterday was absolutely one-sided in favor of Michigan. Many missed calls. The first Michigan touchdown came right after I believe, a 4th down stop. Lincoln Riley didn't challenge it, or the refs didn't review it, or the booth didn't review it, whatever the case. I believe that was a very controversial call, and it just kind of snowballed from there. Off of 46 rushing attempts, Michigan did not hold SC once. Face mask penalties, a blindside that knocked the USC player Mekhi Lemon out. The last touchdown that the Michigan scored, Anthony Lucas was literally bear hugged. The second touchdown, Achille Arnold was bear hugged by the tight end number 7. Come on. You can't expect any team to go play in an environment like that against a top opponent like Michigan in a hostile environment, 100,000 plus, and also to overcome the refs. There's something really, it's just not fair. Come on. It's not fair. Any college football fan should look at the game, be objective, especially Michigan fans, step back and say, yeah, that game was tilted in our favor. So with that being said, it was not a true competitive battle. It was heavily tilted in Michigan's favor. So, okay, I ranted, but it's a truth. Okay, let's move on. SC's offense, look, I'm not trying to bash Lincoln Riley. The OL has some problems. Now we're starting to see against a very stout defense and defensive front. Michigan was living in SC's backfield. The play calling was very goofy, very uneven. I'm starting to get a sense that Lincoln Riley is in over his head at this point in time, and especially in these big games and these critical junctures, especially when the game seemed in hand, 24-20 USC, 5 minutes remaining, 4.5 minutes remaining. Run the ball. Just take off another minute, a minute and a half off the clock. let's see how it goes. It seemed like SC was getting a little momentum in the running game, especially in the second half. SC was starting to control the game. Michigan knew this. The Michigan fans knew this. But yet again, a head scratcher. Maybe Riley sees something that the rest of us don't. But those shovel passes, that series was just absolutely horrific. Play calling in the first half as well. I never doubted Riley until this game. I'm going to have another video focusing on Riley and where he is right now in his journey, in his narrative as a USC football coach. But boy, yeah, I am starting to be very critical of Riley, especially in these big game environments. He just seems overwhelmed. He seems in over his head. The play calling is very uneven. 51 passes to, 21 rushing attempts. Balance it out. Okay, we might get a yard. We might lose a yard. Whatever you think, run the ball. Balance, show balance. We were having some success.
Great success.
Oh boy, I'm starting to get heated and I don't want to get heated. Okay. USC's wide receivers, a lot of potential, very young. Look, this is a very young team. Elijah Page, Alani Noah, those wideouts, those sophomore wideouts. They don't have a lot of experience. They don't. They just don't. In time, they will mature. In time, they will gain experience. In time, they will gain that confidence. Players like Hudson need to stop dropping those passes. That first one on that first drive, that was in his hands. They need to make those plays in any game, especially in that game. You need to hang on to the ball, right? It happens. It's football. I get it. Look, that was a very, very winnable game for SC. The narrative is, Michigan pounded them into submission. Yes and no. I would say yes, they got 3 big runs, but 2 of them should not have been happened. The number one, off that controversial 4th down call that Riley inexplicably didn't challenge, or for whatever reason. And number 2, the second one where everybody, the world saw, 17 holding on to number 0, like this for about 5 seconds. No flag was thrown. Okay. Yeah, these change the outcomes of the football game. Big turnovers. SC got a couple. Great play by Woody Marks there to strip Grant after that. I mean, an amazing play. Woody Marks really was a difference maker in this game. And it's a shame that we didn't come out with a W with all his heroic efforts. Miller Moss stood in there, but he should not be asked to pass 51 times when the OL is just struggling to protect. Run the fricking ball, man. Run the ball. Just like Michigan did. Michigan didn't go nowhere for 43 of those, right? And 3 of them were, the last one, that big one that Mullings, who's a very tough back, I get it. We should not have let that happen. SC should have stopped them. The SC, when you face a very one-dimensional team, it's not like they ran 80 plays, Michigan. They ran, I think, a total of, let's see how many plays. 58 plays. It's not like 68, 78. So SC's defense, I don't think was gassed. I don't think they were exhausted. I mean, from the middle of the second quarter all the way to that point, they were on the sidelines mostly. They should not have been tired. There's a lot of things where this one was a tough pill to swallow. Number one, the refs were horrid. This was an ex-Pac-12 officiating crew, which USC had issues with. They've had issues with Pac-12 officiating. I was so happy to get out of the conference. This one, same thing. Chris Coyote, whatever his name is, head ref, was ex-Pac-12. Now he's Big Ten. This was the worst officiated game I've ever seen against SC. And that's saying something. This is an issue that needs to be rectified. Look, Big Ten, you shouldn't have had us, SC, if this is the way, if you want to protect your little darlings, Michigan and Ohio State, don't. If you want to play competitive ball, make it even. Make it even. This was not an even game. Now, if this was in front of the home crowd, still, that would have been, if this was at SC's home and this kind of crap happened, still, it's wrong. But in terms of playing in at Michigan in the big house with that kind of officiating, just bad, rotten. There's something rotten in the state of Denmark, folks, and this was it. Okay, positives. I hope this lights a fire in their SC. It can. I mean, psychologically, that could be a tough one. I mean, we're all kind of, it was there. It was there. It was a winnable game, extremely winnable game. The coaching was not there, especially head coach Riley. The offense was just a mess. They looked they put it together in the second half. I get it a little bit, but Moss and the OL were under duress, and Riley and his play calling just seems very haphazard. No confidence, just herky-jerky. It's just, I'm seeing more of the same, especially in these big games. Riley is folding under pressure. He seems overwhelmed, and his play calling is underwhelming. It just is. And it's making me sick. I want to choke somebody. Okay, back to professionalism. Hats off to Michigan. But let's call facts. You were gifted this game. You were by the refs. You just were. SC should have stopped that last drive. They should have. They didn't. SC should have drained the clock with 5 minutes remaining. They didn't. Turnovers happen. The pick six was a killer. So you live and learn. I feel good about this team. Very young, especially in very important positions like left tackle. The tackle positions at SC, boy. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how they progress. But OL right now looks very shaky. D, I'm not worried about. D has to make those, like, if you know what's coming, you can't let, 95% of snaps, you do great, well, but those 5%, 3%, those three, I mean, Michigan was one-dimensional. I mean, they didn't pose a threat. You just can't let that happen. Anyway, thanks for joining. That was the Michigan recap. It was a weird game. It was a great game in some ways, not always, but it was a bitter pill to swallow. But there will be better days. And as always, fight on.